hand, you have many developing nations who say that they would like access to these medicines, and they argue that wealthier nations are essentially hoarding these medicines that they've developed.
Scientists have issued a new warning aimed directly at greedy countries that if the world is not vaccinated within the next year, we may see new mutations that will render the current vaccines ineffective. Now, I'm not telling you this to scare you, but to inform you, because there is a way to prevent this by waiving the IP rights on these vaccines, as I'll get to in a minute here. First up, this report coming out of Common Dreams. According to a new People's Vaccine Alliance survey of 77 leading epidemiologists from 28 countries, 2/3 said they believe the international community has a year or less before COVID-19 mutations proliferate widely enough to make a majority of first-generation vaccines ineffective, requiring the production of new or modified shots, an opportunity that pharmaceutical industry is already preparing to seize. Nearly a third of the expert respondents said the more accurate time frame for that alarming scenario is likely 9 months or less. More than 80% of the survey respondents agreed that persistent low vaccine coverage in many countries would make it more likely for vaccine-resistant mutations to appear, underscoring the importance of global production and speedy distribution of highly effective existing shots. Now, as I said, a vital part of the solution here is to waive IP rights, which would allow the vaccines to be mass-produced by other manufacturers around the world, but at the same time would mean less money for big pharmaceutical giants, which is the very reason why so far these IP rights have not been waived. This from Reuters here. U.S. Chamber opposes WTO waiver of vaccine intellectual property rights. U.S. Chamber of Commerce, of course, is a right in line, represents the pharmaceutical giants. So they're against waiving these IP rights. More here from Common Dreams. Despite garnering support from more than 100 countries, the waiver push has run up against opposition from powerful nations such as the US, the UK, and Canada, which have thwarted the will of a supermajority of WTO member nations in order to ensure that pharmaceutical corporations retain monopoly control over coronavirus vaccine technology. Look at how insane that is. You have here the US, the UK, and Canada thwarting the will of 100 other countries because they hold more power in these international alliances. Completely insane. But there is a potential glimmer of hope here. I don't want to give you too much hope, but there was this report here from CNBC. Check this out.
Hey, Brian, I've learned that the White House is studying whether to temporarily suspend patent protections for vaccines and treatments developed to treat COVID-19 in response to specific requests from South Africa and India, who have lodged a formal request at the World Trade Organization to get access to these medicines. And so far, the issue has been tabled on a global scale. But now I've learned that it's risen to the highest levels within the Biden administration, according to 3 sources familiar with the matter. As recently as Monday of this week, a meeting of deputy-level policymakers convened to discuss the issue, but I'm told by my sources that no decision was reached, although privately, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, many of the members of her caucus have supported this move behind the scenes, that she has sent a private letter to the White House expressing her own support for pursuing such a move. You can imagine there is fierce debate on either side of this discussion. On one hand, pharmaceutical companies say that this would compromise medical innovation in the future. On the other hand, you have many developing nations who say that they would like access to these medicines, and they argue that wealthier nations are essentially hoarding these medicines that they've developed. In the words of one source who's familiar with some of the support among progressive lawmakers here in the U.S., they say we're not all safe until everyone is safe. Brian, we should note I just got a statement in from the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative, who will have jurisdiction over this issue and who I believe will make the final decision. And it says that they are using every avenue to coordinate with their global partners.
Now, this does give us some hope, potentially, but I just got to address the most absurd comment made there, discussing the view of Big Pharma, saying that waiving these IP rights would compromise medical innovations. That is total shit. These massive companies rely on large, alive populations to give them money. So this is not going to compromise anything. They want people to survive so they keep making money off of them. In fact, these vaccines were partially developed through the investment of public money, of public funds, of taxpayers. So you have here the public putting their money into the development of these vaccines. And then who benefits? Who makes the money off of this? Big pharma giants. And then they turn around and say, no, we can't give it to the rest of the world. We can't waive these IP rights because it's going to hurt us. Ultimately, it's not going to hurt or compromise medical innovation. It's simply going to hurt their bottom line, hurt their profits. That's all it's going to hurt. It's only going to hurt wealthy big pharma executives, and it will benefit everybody else. And still, it won't even really hurt them. These guys are making tons of money. That anyone that is an executive in big pharma is making a ton of money. They are super rich. They don't need any more. They can take the hit to help the rest of the world. Yet still here they are fighting to waive these IP rights. Now I just want to show you where the vaccinations currently sit. This is COVID-19 vaccine doses administered per 100 people. So Israel's already over 100, meaning they're already onto their second doses for everybody. Other countries here, wealthier countries, doing well. Canada, my country, not doing too well. But apart from that, you go down, and I mean, Guatemala, El Salvador, Cambodia, Guyana, South Africa is a big is pushing this idea of waiving IP rights. They're also down here, barely vaccinating anybody. These countries need help, and the way to help is to waive these IP rights. And again, it's not even just about these countries. If you want to be super selfish, you don't care at all about anybody in these countries, you just care about yourself, well, you should want everybody in the world vaccinated. More people that are vaccinated mean there's less of a chance that somebody from one of these countries will come over and infect the population with a new variant that the vaccine is not able to protect. So you have to, I mean, this whole thing is clearly done in a way where people that need the vaccine, that need help, are not the priority here. The priority is big pharma. It's just incredible how much power they have over policy, to the point where people are sick and dying because of wealthy, greedy executives in pharmaceutical giants. And that people in power in Canada, the US, and the UK are completely fine with that. We'll go along with that and see it as, oh, there's a debate here. Let's consider, one side, wealthy, greedy executives, or the other side, the future of humanity. Who can we possibly choose? So it's just completely freaking insane. Now, last thing here, there is, just to leave you on a positive note, since a lot of negative in this video, CDC Director Dr. Rochelle Walensky says our data from the CDC today suggests that vaccinated people do not carry the virus. So there has been some worry that they do, but some good news here from the CDC Director.
Our data from the CDC today suggests, that vaccinated people do not carry the virus, don't get sick, and that it's not just in the clinical trials, but it's also in real-world data.
So there you go. Pretty good news. This is something that was shown in the data before, that if you were vaccinated, there's less of a chance of you carrying the virus. But it appears the data coming out now really proves that if you are vaccinated, there is no worry, at least based on the data so far, that you can carry the virus and give it to somebody else who's not vaccinated. So some positive development here. But of course, until everybody is vaccinated, the vast majority of people, including in the world, we really are not completely safe, and we have to be aware of the need to vaccinate poorer countries, entire populations, to ensure that there is no opportunity for some sort of mutation and new variant to take hold and render the current vaccines ineffective.